No intro.
No intro.
No intro today. Straight in.
Oh, that's a bit disappointing, isn't it?
A little bit, maybe.
I've got an intro.
Go on.
Yeah. Actually, I've got an engagement topic that will be like an intro.
Okay.
So, viewers, if you're watching this on Monday, the 4th of March.
Oh dear, right.
Today.
Could this be something that I might not like?
Today is Robert's birthday. Woohoo! Yay! Woohoo!
So, which I've forgotten about, even the fact when I woke up this morning.
Well, listen. So I thought to myself, what could we do to engage everybody, to like get everybody involved? You know, usually we ask about fishing. Listen, if you've got a fishing question, get it down, get it involved. But I think we should do, for the duration of this, answer at the end, how old do we think Rob is? So put your ages below. I'll start us off. I've done him a card, look. There you go, Rob. Happy birthday.
53.
That's my guess. I've gone with 53. That isn't anything to do with the fact I had a 5 and a 3 badge and it was very comical. That's my guess. 53.
Well, I'm going to say, just to give everyone a bit of a clue, it's younger than 53. Right?
Oh, well, that's helped him out, hasn't it?
Younger than 53. I'm also going to say, I've not had a shave for a bit, so the grey.
All right, it's quite a lot of grey.
There's quite a lot of grey. I like to get rid of the grey.
They have to assume what? There's a full head of flowing hair there?
There's not a full head of flowing hair. There's,
okay, yeah.
Half a head of stubble. And then it's not 53. It's not 53.
It's not 35.
I'll say we're in the 40s, put it that way.
Oh, right. That's good. Well, listen, answers below. If you want to have a guess, let's have a guess. Maybe, Rob, whatever the average is, the best guess, we could take that age going forward.
Yeah, we
could.
As
you've forgotten.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
Anyway, happy birthday to you. I hope you're having a lovely day, and thanks for joining us on the live on your birthday.
Yeah, I'm 48. Look at that. That's horrendous.
And listen, I'm seeing you this week. I'll bring you this card, and you can keep it, all right? I've made every effort there for you.
Number 48. 48 seems to be pretty...
Hey, 48, guys. You're not far off. Anyway, so come on, Rob. What have you been doing this weekend in your, as your 40s were coming to a close?
Right, here we go. This weekend, I was on the Dynamite Bait stand at the big one. I was sort of flitting between Dynamite Baits, Akuma, Rapala Laws also a part of that same group, and I had a pop over to there as well. Had a chat with those guys, but I was also walking around the Big One show in Farnborough on Saturday. A great angling show. Like how it's been put together is fantastic. We've got some really key companies there. Guru are there, Corda are there. I think they really make the show because they put on a big emphasis. Tell you what, Shimano had a wonderful stand as well. They've got a great stand. A lot of companies have had a great showing at the Big One show. Now, I did a talk on the Saturday. Me and Nick Speed did a talk about our underwater stuff that we've done, because obviously Nick is really into his method feeder fishing. He's not seen our underwater coverage videos that we've shot before. So in front of, obviously, it was good because it was every seat was taken in the main area, standing room only. So obviously people standing at the back. Brilliant. People were really buying into what we were talking about with the underwater footage that we shot 18 months ago now, maybe even longer. Good because I clipped it out, some really clear stuff, and great way to learn about method feeder fishing. And then I had a great day. The thing I've got to talk about though is I like looking at new bits of kit. I like looking I like twiddling with like items of tackle and looking at things that could improve my fishing. And I walked around that whole show, and there was very few items that I thought, wow, that's great. That could revolutionise my fishing, or that could add a marginal gain to my fishing. That bit of kit could give me the edge. There wasn't those bits of kit. So what I'd love for you guys, while you're all trying to guess my age, is what piece of kit it could be over the last 20 years, say. Yeah. What piece of kit do you think has really been like a giant leap forward for you as an item of tackle? because we all know that flatbed method feeders are better than the method feeder before that, or a swim feeder was better than casting out a bomb. But I'd love to know an item of kit that has revolutionised or really helped your fishing, put more fish in your net. Because I think at the minute we're on baby steps.
I could start us off with this.
Go on then.
I'm going to say bottom weighted feeders like a winder feeder. That's for me the winder feeder. I'm going to say is in feeder fishing was the biggest. Like that is a night and day difference. I mean, me and you, we're window obsessed, aren't we?
Yeah, I love the window feeder.
Yeah. Because we believe we can get them to do anything and cast accurately and behave in any way we want. And like you think about the old style feeder fishing where you're like trying to nip it hard enough that it doesn't come out when you cast it 40 meters and wobble in the air. And that is a night and day difference, I believe, in my fishing. So I'm going to say the most recent one for me is probably that, the wind feeder.
I'm trying to think what I would have in my box. Things like just even little things like a loop tire. You know, when you're looking at things like that, and I bet you tie every little loop with a loop tire now.
I use a loop tire for every loop. Yeah.
10 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. And it's those sort of things that when I walk around these shows, I honestly, I look at everyone's stand thinking, what can I find here? And what's interesting about this?
Yeah.
What new products have they got? And little things sometimes that make a big leap and make a massive help to your fishing. So I think loop tire. What else have we got? Probably like a hybrid style feeder or banjo style feeder over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because we use those feeders a hell of a lot, whereas it was purely method feeders, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that falls into the flatbed method feeder category, though, in my opinion. You know, like that style of weight down feeder, that really does. But for example, we use bayonets. Like, how much better is that than what we used to do?
Yeah.
There's lots of different things, I think, but yeah, for me, I wouldn't be without a window feeder, no doubt.
Because it's obvious that rods and poles, they've got much better, but
yeah, they get better. Yeah,
they get slightly better each year, don't they? There's not that massive jump that you think, wow, that is.
Yeah, it's very hard to. I think poles, rods, feeders, they're always progressing. Whenever we look at new poles at Preston, every time we pick them up, they're slightly better. And every now and again, something comes along that makes it, that is better. That's like better for cheaper. You can't always do that, and that doesn't always happen. But it has happened recently, as it happens with the Superiors. But and companies all do the same. Which then, if you went back 15 years, you'd be like, oh my god, that's a night and day difference in poles. But annually, it's hard to show that, isn't it, and demonstrate that difference, really.
Yeah, tiny little baby steps, I think, in that sort of innovations. So let's have a look at a few age guesses. Jason Jones, very, 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 very close, I'm going to say. So Dave Berry has suggested that I've had a big paper round. Dave Berry, yes, I did have a big paper round, but that's not the reason that I look weathered. That's because I've been out a lot and I've had a tough old life. Bob Murray, 48. Kevin Carr, 48. They think I'm 48.
There's a lot of 48s, isn't there?
Miles away, lads. Miles away. Obviously, my camera doesn't do everything justice. Yeah, I think a bit run down, a bit of a cold. There's those sort of things I take into account. Tony Rawlings, what do you think of the big one? Didn't feel much for the match angler. We've just been talking about this. So to go with not the lack of innovation, because there was some innovation, but the lack of innovation, I suppose, for the better word of it, there wasn't a lot for the match angler, Tony. It is very much a carpy style show with a bit of match there.
I think the location in the country makes a big difference for that, Rob, doesn't it? Because they tried a big one at Stoneleigh, didn't they? And that was much more match orientated.
It was, but I just don't think it got the support from the trade as the one down south. But
no, because that's carp. That's carp. There's carp anglers and carp, and obviously all the shops down there. They're selling a lot. I always thought with the big one, at least half the show is shops selling carp fishing equipment. That's how I always perceived it, and a lot of the anglers there are going there to look at the things that are going on in that style of fishing. And then I think the other half of the show is is mixed from anything from boiled sweets to tackle companies.
yeah. There wasn't loads. There was people selling, probably not half. Probably not quite half. I don't know whether that's because it's expensive to have a stand, but there was a lot of exhibitors, tackle exhibitors, smaller exhibitors as well, just wanting to show off products. Then you've, like you say, you've got your food companies. What I think somewhere like the big one is missing, they need experiences. So again, Shimano did do a nice thing to have their fish catching simulation where you actually play a big fish on a big rod, and it's an experience. It's a real fun thing to do. Then you've got there was a few tombola games, a few things like that. There's some talks. There was a couple of rig clinics, but I feel that there needs to be more of that, more experiences, timed experiences for specific time slots where people can move around, they can experience things. And I feel that even some big tanks, more big tanks. There's one in the Law area that creates a bit of interest because people can chuck lures in and have a bit of a play in the big tank. But some big tanks where people can have a cast in, maybe a tank with some fish in it, where people can throw a bit of bait in or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that on talks before in the past. And you see there a big tank with fish and
just something that is drawing people, and it's an experience. Because with all due respect to a lot of it, you're saying maybe half is sellers, but we can go down our local tackle shop and experience that. We need to experience the new products and all these different experiences that are there.
I suppose it depends what you're going for, doesn't it? I mean, people go for different things. Some people go for what you're talking about, and some people go for it's all under one roof type thing. I can get whatever I want. You don't see many people walking around without something in a bag.
No, they've all gone there with some money in their pocket, ready to buy some.
That's right, yeah, because people, they do want to see what you're talking about. They also want to buy it.
They want some bargains, and now I know that Dynamite on the Saturday had a really good day. So obviously people are buying. Dynamite
people are buying,
and they had a great day. So it's probably working all round at the minute for making a little bit of money for people. Richard Webb, you told us both your ages on the Drennan World Feeder Championships video. Smiley face. So yeah, we're just talking about.
You've paid attention then, Richard.
Yeah, he's paid attention. Right. So Sean Elliott, he says I'm 44. Close, Sean. And good afternoon, guys. No fishing for him for 6 weeks after foot surgery. A question for Lee: are the Ascension feeder rods tips compatible with using a shock leader, i.e., big eyes to allow the knot through?
Personally, I think it's a bit of a myth with the old eyes. I've got to be honest. Certainly, if you're using braid is so thin, mono to braid. Rob and I both use the same knot. We use a 4-turn water knot, and pulled down, trimmed down. It's so tiny. I can honestly say I've never had that knot catch on the eyes. Rob, have you?
No.
And I've used it with tiny quiver tips.
Years ago though, Lee, if you were to get a rod from like the 90s and look at the eyes on a quiver tip, they were microscopic. You were threading your line through and missing. And I think that's where that comes from, because the tip was so fine in those days, and shock leader knots, we were told to leave the big long tags on, weren't we? So it flew through the rings a lot easier. But now we've got a tiny little shock leader knot, that 3 and 4 turn water knot. The eyes on our tips they're generally quite big anyway, aren't they, in comparison?
Yeah, I mean, look, me and you've both used those Ascension tips, Rob, and they, in world championships at times, and we've never had an issue. So my answer to your question is 100%. And Rob's right. Actually, if I took the Ascension tip and took it against the quiver tip from the 90s, we'd be like, that's why. But yeah, no issues whatsoever. So 100%.
Okay, Kevin Carr, groundbait punch. He's saying a groundbait punch. Remember the old, I think, Samo?
Yeah. We've
Which
got some
I used to use all the
Preston,
time, like for making a little punch of groundbait, throwing it in.
Preston have got some of them, you know. Preston have got some they had some groundbait punches. I remember getting them thinking, oh my God, I can't see myself not using them. And every time I tried to use them, I just couldn't get on with them.
Right. I thought they were good for like little balls, especially left-handed. Because obviously sometimes you struggle to get a little ball of like bread or something and it left-handed to get it consistently each time.
It's a nice idea, I think, for people who are a little bit, you know, I don't know, if you're like maybe a bit clumsy with hand, not clumsy, but like hand-fisted, I suppose. Like I always like this. I like, I use my little fingers to, you know, I don't know, just I think it's each to their own. But yeah, they're quite good, you know, groundbait punches.
Mr. Tonks, happy birthday, Rob. He's saying 49, Lee. Obviously, Mick's been drinking, daytime drinking on a Monday, Mick. I wouldn't recommend that. Daz Kennedy, do you think they should change the weighing times on a FisherMania from every half hour to every hour? That's a left field question, isn't it?
That is a left field question, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being perfectly honest, because I think it's good to know where
I like it. I do.
Where it is. Yeah, absolutely. I do. And you got to remember when you're watching Fisho, that's what gives them something to talk about. So every time there's a weigh change, so and so's on the charge, because you know you can do that. And I think if you enter Fisho, you know what it is. You know that's what you're going to. You know you're going to be weighed in every whatever. So you know that's fine.
I think you've got to appreciate that FisherMania isn't like it's just not a normal match. It's a totally different match to any that you will ever fish in your life. The final, because obviously the weigh-ins, the people on the bank, it's just a totally different match. Hard to practice for, isn't it, as well, really, because you just can't replicate it.
Big time, yeah.
Right, before we talk about your weekend, a well-worn 47. Oh dear. Big eyes on feeder tips for shock leaders. So Sean Elliott's saying bigger eyes is one of the things that he's seen that has looked at helped him with his fishing, new items and kit. We'll talk about your weekend. Talk about the t-shirt, Lee.
I've got a new t-shirt on, Rob. It's nice, isn't it? Do you like it? Should I show you the back?
Show us the back, because obviously, listen, we're not selling these, folks. We've just had some t-shirts made for me and Lee. But look at that. So come closer to the camera so we can see the little.
Oh, don't know where. I don't even see my butt.
We've got the big E, which I think is a great logo, you know. But see all the little E's as well.
Oh, God,
dear. So yeah, we had the t-shirts made.
Yeah, we've had some t-shirts. We've had some and some hoodies just for filming, haven't we? Something we do, guys. We don't at this moment in time, no intention to sell anything. But if you like it, do you like it? I think it looks good. Nice logo on the arm. Look, Rob.
High logo. So obviously a lot of anglers wear a bib and brace. We're trying to get the logo a little bit higher so it's not covered up. So yeah, I think it's well thought out.
Very good.
Talk to me about your weekend, because you went fishing, didn't you, on Sunday?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went back to Hallcroft. And I come fish for Catchmore Media, who I've got to say, I didn't realise this. I think they've won that league 4 times in a row, and they're now pole position to win it for a 5th time. It's a 72 team league, 72 angler league, 18 teams of 4. And they are.
We'll get the postman. Hang on, you stay there. Keep talking.
All right, and they are. You know, it's a good bunch of boys. Matt Godfrey, James Dent, Tom Scully, and Andy Gelder are the main 4, but they whiz a few of us in from time to time in the draft. And I was covering for Matt this weekend. The fishing this weekend, if you were out fishing this weekend, I tell you what I noticed. It was really still. It was really cold. And that stillness and coldness meant that if you were in an area where there wasn't loads of fish, bites were hard to come by. The fish weren't really active. And I could tell that because where there was fish, people caught them really well and they didn't really seem to move. But also those people sort of talked about, there was a lot of fish in my peg. You know, if I could just get him to feed properly. And I was up in the bowl, Rob, bridge outer, 26, same peg again.
Yeah.
And it can be really good there. Like we've had 3 or 4 matches there when it's been really good, but the last 2 matches it's been really tough there. Like the fish have moved out of the bowl. And it was yesterday I had 13-12 for third in my section for the team. And I had like 6 or 7 big stamp skimmers and then a handful of roach. That was it. So nothing. It was like there wasn't the number of fish there, but it was really flat. It was cold. Felt the pressure was high. So, or the pressure didn't feel right anyway. And you could just tell that because you just didn't get any indications or bites really from any of the right fish. So I think if you've been fishing this weekend, and one thing I'm going to say, so this week ahead is I'm going on the Angling Trust Silverfish Final at Barston. And the forecast, Rob, from Wednesday onwards for like 6-7 days, so all of next weekend, is a strong easterly wind. So if you're going fishing next weekend, I can almost guarantee weights will be down. There is a chance, even though the days are getting lighter and it's sort of the fish are powering, having a feed, there's a chance if you're in an area out of the wind, you could have the best days fishing ever. But anywhere in the wind where it's cold or the conditions aren't right, I think the fish will be really hard to catch. So just bear that in mind this weekend. An easterly wind at Barston, Rob, is coming off the riverbank. My prediction is riverbank will be fantastic because it'll all be out of the wind and the fish will be sheltering there.
Where could be very good? 108 to 112 behind that island.
You're exactly right. And easterly, 112 will be in it because it'll be partial on that island. But you're right. I think those 3 or 4 little pegs on that side behind the island could be good as well. Apart from that, don't fancy it much.
I think what you've got to remember is, I was talking about this with a couple of mates yesterday. In the afternoon, you go out in the afternoon, it feels like spring.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Morning, it's frost. And granted, more fish are being caught in general than they were 2 or 3 weeks ago. You look at people's nets and people are having a good day's fishing now. The fish are still stacked up in certain pegs, aren't they? They're still in little areas, little pockets. And you can see that with the weigh boards. If you can get the weigh boards from a match, someone will have £20, the next person's had £100.
Yeah.
You've still got to be on the fish. You're not catching any amount of fish or any money winning amount of fish at the minute without drawing on the fish. That's
now. Yeah, you're right.
Unless we talk about the draw, you've got to take things easy. You've got to make hay when the sun shines. When you're on the fish, you've got to catch them.
Yeah, that's bang on. And you've got to, if the conditions change, and we get some southerlies and the temperatures get 13, 14 degrees and 8, 9 degrees overnight, there'll be a lot of pegs you can catch from. But at the moment, like Rob says, we're not getting that. We're getting cold nights, still days because this easterly's coming. Everything's not right at the moment. So for the next week, but definitely don't be going gung-ho. You'll be gearing up for the final bit for sure. And if you're in a bit where it's cold and windy and not right, you've just got to suck it up and accept the fact that it's going to be a harder day.
I fished a rover last week.
Did you?
I can't remember ever fishing a rover before, but I'm sure I have. But I thought last week, Wednesday weather, which the weatherman got wrong, but Wednesday looked okay as a day. Thought I'd go on a rover, try and find a match somewhere. And I went to Packington. And Packington's a big old fishery, a lot of lakes, small lakes and big lakes. And absolutely clueless of where to go and where to sit. I just went with a few dead maggots if I was fishing, if I wanted some hook baits for method feeder, tiny bit of ground bait, bought some fishery pellets there on the recommendation of the guys there. And got an idea of pegs, where to sit. And I sat on big gearies, you'll know it, big gearies, peg 12 on the high bank. Because they said to me, if the big carp feed, that's a great area to sit. Obviously, it turned cold. I had one little carp all day. So I've fished feeder to start with. I've caught a skimmer. And then I've fished pole and hard pellet. Again, recommendation of the guys there. And I've had a few bites, but every single fish was like a skimmer. Nice fish, £1.5, £2 fish, but they weren't easy to catch. And then eventually I've hooked a carp, probably about £4, something like that, which is small for big Geary standards. But, because it was a rover, not a lot of anglers on the lake. I certainly had loads of space. I don't think there was enough going on for those carp to be pushed around the lake, and they were just sitting in one area.
Yeah.
Temperatures obviously dropped. Didn't want to go hunting for food, and they were never going to come to me on that day because they wanted to push away, if anything. And with no anglers on the lake to bounce them around, just obviously struggled on the day. But it was an interesting concept. And like you say, naughty wind that day, cold in my face, naughty. One of the days where you go home and your eyes are bright red because obviously the wind's been in your face all day. And I wonder if I'd have sat on a little lake out of the wind somewhere in a little corner. I think you'd have just had a captive audience and caught a load of fish on that day. So
yeah, you're probably right, mate. Yeah,
big choices are massive, isn't it, this time of year?
Oh yeah, that final that I fished last week, it was unbelievable. The same pegs a week before, not even a week before, 5 days before, were the worst pegs in the match, and they were the best pegs in the match because the fish were out of the wind. So, that's what I should be looking for this weekend: a peg out of the wind. Ideally, both days. We're actually out on Friday, and we are going to do a detailed live match for the members channel. When we do like some live matches stuff for the YouTube, just to show you the journey.
Bit more of a vloggy style, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, when you show you the journey. But this will be really good. Rob will be with me. Be like I'll have my own personal coach. And we'll be able to show you all the detail because it's a really important match because it's the practice match the day before the big final. So, what can we learn? What can we figure out? That'll be a really great video. And, whenever we do something like that, we like to keep it really relevant. So that is the 20th, 21st of March. It'll be March's release anyway. So, look out for that one, guys. That's going to be really good.
Right. Mark Gallagher is saying Discorder's revolutionised his fishing. Stephen Armstrong, afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, Stephen. Andrew Bailey, the Whopper Dropper. He's saying the Whopper Dropper helped him massively with his fishing. So obviously Trev Tomlin was Mr. Census at the time. He was the Whopper Dropper guy, and he was from Leicester. And my dad used to be an electroplater. This is a Whopper Dropper story. And he used to electroplate the little eyelets on the Whopper Dropper pouches for Trev Tomlin. So there's a Whopper Dropper story for you. Stephen Armstrong, 43. Stephen, you're a very clever guy. Well done. Andrew Bailey, 44. No, Andrew, not yet. Russell Hollands, after watching the Edge videos, using a stopwatch has definitely put more fishing in the net. Rob must be 45. No, he can't be, Russell. So, Russell, stopwatch when you feed a fishing, 100%. It helps. It helps massively. You just catch more fish because you can gauge how long you're leaving your feeder out there for, and you can structure your match better. So, for anyone that doesn't know, Lee and I use a stopwatch all the time. It's detailed in all our videos, and it just means that you get to read your bite times. So, for instance, we'll cast out, we'll set the stopwatch. If we get a bite in 10 minutes, we'll chuck it out again. We'll set the stopwatch. If we get another bite and it's 8 minutes or around 10 minutes, we'll know that 8 or 10 minutes is like the bite time. So it's pointless us leaving it for 20 minutes because we've probably missed that bite time. And likewise, it's pointless us reeling in after 5 minutes. And sometimes without stopwatch, you lose track of time. So that stopwatch just gives you a bit of a guide, really, of how long you leave that feeder out for.
Along with that, Rob, it just made me realise is measuring sticks.
Yeah.
So obviously, in the old days, you used to count our turns.
If you were walking around a show 10 years ago and you would have seen measuring sticks.
Yeah.
And say, for instance, there was a guy there, a consultant, telling you about measuring sticks, and they were bright and sparkly, and they got a nice light shining on them on the stand, and they were looking amazing. Do you think at the time you'd have gone, that looks good?
That's essential. No way. It's only the fact that once you get out and use them, I can't even imagine going feeder fishing without them. I can't.
No.
Even if I set up one feeder rod, a token feeder rod yesterday, I still got my sticks out and measured it up.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah. Peter Thornton, this is because obviously we're talking about the big one show, guys, and maybe the lack of match style stuff at the big one, and there was some innovation, but there was a lack of innovation as a whole, I would say, as in revolutionary products. So Peter Thornton, there has been a virtual lack of new gear for the past 3 years at least. It is really a glorified sales outlet for mainly cheap and current gear, with a few stands with decent stuff on show. Peter, yes, well, I suppose it is. I don't know if it's a glorified sales outlet. It's a sales outlet, and you can buy kit there, and you can buy some cheap kit there. And for a lot of people, I think that's great. What I would love to see is some more major suppliers with some major innovations there as well.
The thing is, Rob, is that everybody does it different, I suppose. You have to accept because, for example, I've just been doing product videos for Preston for their March launch, and this week we'll be looking at the April launch. And so we've had a February, March, and April product launch, and obviously Preston decided to do their stuff via social media. So it's hard, isn't it? And like you have just said there yourself, there might have been a wonder product there, but you might have walked past it because it's a measuring stick, and there's different types of things, and there's I think that everybody sort of does things a little bit differently, and I think it's hard maybe within a show because sometimes you get gimmicky products, don't you, at the show? We've all seen them. Oh, that's a great idea, and then you just think no. And probably those shows are where those people sell the most of that product.
Yeah, it's the impulse buy.
Yeah, exactly. Because you go, whoa, wow, that's good. Whereas, like you said, the loop tire, the first time somebody had a set of loop tires on their thing going, hey, look, it's really easy to tie these loops with this, you'd have walked past it. I'd have walked past it.
Yeah.
So, innovation comes in all sorts of different ways.
You've got to look at the cost involved as well, because obviously the companies have their own stand that's designated. So they build their own stand and take their own stand to these shows. So obviously there's a cost implication there. They've got to not only have the stand made for them, they've got to store the stand somewhere all year. Then they've got to pay for their consultants or staff to go and man the stand, set up the stand. Then they've got to pay for the actual stand itself, then accommodation, then the planning that goes into it. So there's costs involved, massive costs involved. So you've got to outweigh that, whether you've got, and this is where I feel that it comes from, that if you've got an innovative product that you think, I've got to tell the world about this, you'd probably say, we'll swallow those costs and we'll go and do that. But if there's not that innovative product, you think, maybe we'll give it a miss this year, we'll go next year.
Yeah, I think it depends on everybody's position of where they are. So it's each sort of company makes their own choice, if you like. I also think that sometimes you can't see all the products and you can't see the impact of something. Like, for example, take pre-tied hooks. Pre-tied hooks, you go, yeah. So, whereas I know several brands now, their pre-tied hooks are so good and their range is so comprehensive. That's something that me and you 10, 15 years ago wouldn't have even entertained a pre-tied hook. Now, we use pre-tied hooks in situations. I've used them in big matches even. I'm that confident in them. And that's just the ones that I have access to. Lots of companies do a lot of good ones. So that was interesting for me to see things like that. Like, again, I wouldn't even give it a second look at a show, but it's something that affects us more. I bet there's more people watching use pre-tied hooks than there is normal hooks.
Yeah, I bet there is. Yeah, it's how you get the point across, isn't it? About how
it's difficult.
And its use. Richard Webb, it was more match orientated when it was Go Fishing Show at the NEC. They were the days, Richard. It was a great show. Tony Rawlins, there was no Preston on Sonny Bates, no. If you had Matrix Preston Drennan with their latest gear on show, it would be worth the name of the big one. Yeah, there's definitely more carp. The best bits I bought from the show were 3x3 weigh tripods, which are still going strong after 6 years. Right, here we go. Fry fishing. This is world champion. I'm going to get my chair up. World champion Fry. Right, Fry has commented on our live stream. Afternoon, lads. Any advice for an Iberian Masters virgin? He's leaving tomorrow. My advice, Si, would be to take it as it comes, enjoy the sunshine, and treat it as a trip away rather than a serious fishing match, because the fishing could bite you in the bum. But that you could have a wonderful couple of days on some fish. But treat it as a trip away with the lads. Enjoy yourself. I think you'll love it. Sticky mag feeder, name of the game. If you're looking for 1 or 2 fish, I think you could chuck it down the middle and sit there on your hands, and the chance of you catching 1 or 2 fish are pretty good, but you're looking at 20, 30-minute chucks. If you're looking at catching more than that and you want to be a bit more active, smashing the feeder up against the far side and being willing to get snagged up a couple of times, you're going to catch a few more doing that. But I think if you said to yourself, I want to catch 1 fish every single day, chuck it 3/4 or down the middle, sit on your hands, you're probably not going to get snagged up as much. 1 will mosey on by and pick it up, I'm saying, during the course of the day.
Don't let it come off. Pull. My advice is pull hard. Pull hard when you're at one. And the expectations need to be 3 fish a day minimum puts you in the top 10. So that's where you're at. If you catch 3 fish a day every day, you'll be in the top 10. Hopefully you get a great day. And Si, if you missed the earlier bit, it's Rob's birthday today. We're trying to guess how old he is. So if you want to,
Si will probably know. Si's probably sent me a card.
Well, I think Si's looking forward to you joining him in the team.
Maybe. Kevin Edwards, what do you both think about the overweighted float rig? I think he's talking about like a little shallow rig, overshotted.
It's just another way of fishing, isn't it? I think it's very direct when you fish like that. You're using the weight to keep everything tight. So you're trying to create a self-hooking method. For me, that's your skill then comes in your feeding. So the rig might take that hitting the bites thing out of it, and the skill comes in your feeding. But for me, being able to see my float or my tip or whatever it is and read the bites is what teaches me about the feeding. So I find it very hard to fish those methods unless I go, right, I'm just going to sit and do something on repeat and take my chance, which is why I think that you find that the top guys don't overly use it, because they need to understand the feeding on any given day.
We shot a video at Lindholm, didn't we, last year? Massively relevant, because it was this time of year. Oh, sorry, in about a month's time. April time of year, just when you're starting to catch a few fish shallow. And we shot it at Lindholm, catching F1s on standard rigs and jigger rigs. And we talked about the jigger a hell of a lot. So, direct sort of style rig. And if you've not seen it, well worth a watch, because we talk about how to use that bristled standard pole float with, bristle out of the water that you can see. We talked about that and how to read that to tell you how to fish your overshotted or your jigger rig, because you read so much from that pole float that it tells you what depth the fish are feeding at, and you can alter your depths accordingly. And once you do switch to that direct rig, the overshotted rig or the jigger, you just end up slaying them because of that. So I urge you, if you've not seen that, join the membership channel or go to the website and find it. Is it called shallow fishing or was it called jigger fishing?
Might have been jigger fishing, I think.
Might have been jigger fishing, yeah.
Great day that was.
This time last year. So probably about 20 videos ago, something like that. Right. What do you think? Peter Thornton, the majority of the serious visitors were carp anglers, most pleasure anglers. The big one shot the weekend. Carp anglers, pleasure anglers, some match anglers were buying bait, cheaper items. Also, the food was, as usual, very expensive. I think I had a pasty. I went and bought a pasty. It was like £8.
Did you?
Yeah.
8 quid for a pasty.
8 quid for a pasty was like ridiculous. Screek 360 Fishing, you'll love this, Lee. Afternoon, lads. Lee is looking fly as hell in that top.
Go on, Screek.
So when Rob gets his, he will look even better. Thank you very much. That's very nice. I did that end bit on. You can't beat a good E, Kingfisher says.
Good lads, I love it. I'm glad you guys are liking the top.
Pedro, who's a member. In your opinions, which is the best rod under 250 quid for commercial waggler work? God, if you're looking for a 250 quid rod, you're getting a hell of a rod for that. I don't think you need to spend 250 quid, do you, on a commercial waggler rod?
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but obviously price of tackle is going up. Yeah, I mean, the Superior X one's not that far off that, Rob. So
is it?
You know,
right.
a lot of money.
I'm gonna throw in my Free Spirit CTX, which is like not that. I think they're probably about 120, 130. They're a beautiful rod. Yeah, beautiful rod. But what would you say about commercial waggler rods? 11 foot?
For me, it depends on the depth you're fishing. So if I'm fishing pellet waggler, like under 2.5 foot, I like an 11 footer. Like, I feel like you're busy. You're in and out, in and out. You don't want a big cumbersome rod. I think anything over 2.5 foot, you're probably going to have to strike to connect into the fish, and having a slightly longer rod gives you a better pickup. So 12 foot is my choice when I'm going there. I mean, I used to take 13s at times, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So I would, if I was, the depth is my key thing there. If I was fishing like 4 foot deep on a nice waggler, then I'd want a longer rod to hit more bites for sure.
I think it makes the casting easier, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, but if you're fishing shallow and basically you're almost like, oh, well, that's on, then you're 11 foot. You know,
11 footers, and alter the stiffness of the rod depending on what size waggler you're using. Yeah,
bang on.
Right, Chris Toon. Obviously, he can't get enough of the Grantham Canal at the minute. Chris Toon can't, so he's running along it today to check out some pegs. He's done 7.5 miles. He said it's all flooded, but like a lot of places.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, here we go. He says, Kevin Edwards. He says, down south at the weekend, it was 40-mile-an-hour winds and rain showers. So obviously, you're talking about high pressure, flat calm, fishing at Hallcroft. He's got gale force winds and
rain showers. Look at that big difference between big difference, and that's the you know where you are and the condition. I cannot tell you this time of year how massive the conditions are. Basically, cold. If it's a cold wind, east northeast, the fish will be out of it. If it's a warm wind, the fish will be bang in it. And you, so in a match fishing situation, you can't choose that. So you have to sit down, look at what you're up against, and tailor your expectations to suit, without a doubt. To get the best out of your peg, you have to accept sometimes you just can't win from where you are. You have to then get the best out of where you are.
Right, I'm going to fly through these because Chris Toon has asked about Lakeview since the takeover. Have I been to Lakeview since the takeover? I have. I went and shot a little video just after they put some fish in. It's obviously still as beautiful as it was. They've transformed one of the lakes into a more specimen style lake. They have then stocked the match lakes with more fish, but smaller fish. So I imagine, well, I know there's plenty more bites for everybody, but I imagine in a year's time, everything's going to be £1.5 to £3, and it's going to be absolutely rigid, and it's going to be amazing fishing. I think at the minute, though, it's great fishing for everybody because winter time, they're getting loads of bites. 8 ounce to a pound fish they are at the minute.
Always was a beautiful place, Lakeview, wasn't it? Always a beautiful place.
Lovely place to go. And obviously, you're talking about you're going somewhere and it's windy and miserable weather. It was always enclosed with trees, so you've always getting out. Andy Bailey went to a private pond on Saturday. He had 11 bream, 2 tens, some small skimmers for £44. Best winter day so far. It sounds an amazing day.
That sounds
Chris
great.
Toon says happy birthday. Neil Potter joining and watching the edge is obviously the best thing in fishing in the last 2 years. Neil,
you know Neil, well done, Neil.
He knows it. I think
Neil, well done.
The t-shirt sent to him, maybe. Peter Thornton, spot on, Lee. Fish Sunday and found exactly the same. On fish you caught, off fish you struggled. High pressure built in over the weekend. Will stay until the next weekend at the earliest. So he's obviously looking at the weather, just like
very important, very, very important.
Dave Berrett. here's something that's important, and I can remember fishing without one: a side tray. So
Nice,
just something
Dave.
that you find side tray, and you think how big
Yeah.
side trays are now. I used to get laughed at when I had two big. They weren't even big by today's standards. I used to have two nice large side trays on the one either side. People used to say I look like a plane trying to take off. Now that's commonplace, isn't it? Two big side trays.
I always like my claim to fame, Rob, with the bracket that holds the side tray up. I used to use an umbrella arm to do it before we made one, and I'd be lost without that because you couldn't put your legs. You had to not only you didn't even have them fit to your box. You used to like have a table, didn't you? I had one of them little boss tables.
Boss table, but bivvy table. They were a bivvy table, weren't they?
Just terrific, literally horrific. So now I've got a side tray, it clips onto my leg with a support arm. It's just amazing.
Chris Toon saying before measuring sticks, he used to roll the line out on the bank and clip up, and obviously just have line everywhere. I remember doing it once, and it was like, what a faff this is.
Line fest, yeah.
Cameron McKenzie, happy birthday, Rob. Age is just a number. As long as you're enjoying life, does not matter. Have a great day. I'm still playing football with 20-year-olds, Cameron, and I'm still scoring my goals, mate. So I'm happy with that.
Well, I'll tell you what.
18th birthday. That's what I like to hear, BL. All depends on how much you are fishing, leisure or more as a hobby. You always see tackle you think you need. Happy birthday. Cy Fry, happy birthday, Rob. He's saying 43.
Well, Cy.
Cy Fry is on fire this year,
He's on fire. He's on fire. Look, here's the big reveal. I've edited the card, Rob. There it is. Yeah. So, happy 43rd birthday to my partner in crime in the old Edge. Hope you're having a lovely day. And I hope everybody's enjoyed joining us for a little bit of lunchtime live birthday banter.
See you later, folks.